Hi folks, Gary Burley here at East Hill Creamery. I'm doing a little dialogue where answering questions that people would have about the times you're having right now. I know they're quite challenging and there's a lot of misconceptions and false information thrown out there, and people are always wondering what really is going on because it has something to do with their food. So I've been in the dairy business for 38 years. Ran our dairy farm in Warsaw, and we also had one in Dansville for that period of time. We started in Warsaw in 1981. And now the next generation are running the dairies, and my wife and I opened East Hill Creamery 4 years ago, and we now sell French artisan cheese at Gruyere and raclette style. But anyways, I feel I have a lot of knowledge about the dairy industry. I always stay current. I get a readout every morning on email about the situation nationwide, and so hopefully I can help some people with questions that they would have about the dairy industry. So I hope you find this interesting, and would encourage anybody who has questions about it that they would like to have an answer to. I can certainly do a little research if I don't know the answer, but I know most of them. So let's get started. So we get questions about our underpass and our underpass reserve. So those are two different aged cheeses. They're a raclette style cheese. The underpass is the youngest of them. Right now what we're selling as far as underpass was made late last summer in August. So that's approximately 5 to 6 months of age. The reserve is now aged 3 years and 6 months. So obviously that's quite a difference in age, but the aging of the cheese puts a lot more flavor, makes it more complex, salty, earthy, and people who are looking for a lot of flavor or want to mimic like a sharp cheddar are often the customers of that cheese. Both of them melt very well being raclettes. So obviously we have our own farms. We actually milked 1,300 cows in 2 different locations. Total of 1,300 cows. And so all the milk that comes into the plant that we make our cheese from comes from the Warsaw operation. We obviously have a grazing herd because we advertise grass-fed milk. So it comes from our Warsaw operation. And then we use about 2 to 3% of the total production that we make on that farm. The rest goes to Batavia, to the Owaka plant, and goes into the big world of commodity dairy products. That's a good question, and we often get that answer. I say no because there's about 2,000 different types of cheeses, and they all require, after the milk is brought into the vat and heated and starts the process of make, it all requires a different piece of equipment, either a different mold size, a different press setting, a different culture. And so it all changes the flavor of it after the curds come out of the vat. So it would require a lot of expensive equipment because to make good cheese requires really good equipment. And we'd have to set up another line, and of course you're talking thousands and thousands of dollars. And it's hard enough just to market what we're already making, so we choose not to make any other types of cheeses at this time. Good question. Okay, we make our cheese, so we're always advertising grass-fed, and we also have found, since we've been making cheese for 4 years this year, that we make our best cheese when the cows are on grass. So obviously we don't want to stray from saying that our cheese is grass-fed and not have the cows out on grass. So it's from May through the 1st of December that we make our cheese. If you were to make it in the wintertime, we would have to put our cows on total grass hay. Still not the same as far as quality of cheese, but it does change the color of it. You'll find our cheeses to be quite yellow, and that's from the cows eating the grass. Another good question. On the underpass, we tell people 60 days. On the Silver Lake and the Reserve, we say 90. It will stay in there and continue to age at a slower process, but obviously you're not controlling the environment as far as humidity and temperature. So what will happen if your cheese has got too much air to it is it will dry out, and while it's drying out, you are losing flavor. But also it will begin to turn white and then blue, and what's happening is that piece of cheese is starting wanting to make its own rind, and obviously you're not going to do that in your refrigerator. So you can take that mold, that's what it is, and you can take salt water and wash that cheese off, and to get some more or time out of it before you use it up. Most people don't know that. If you eat, you can eat the mold and the cheese. It won't hurt you, but I don't care for that flavor, that kind of that musty off flavor. Some people don't mind it. I don't care for blue cheese. So that would be my answer to that. And you want to keep it wrapped up tight. You don't want the air to get to it because it's going to pick up the flavors of the refrigerator also. So hope that helps you. Yes, you can freeze our cheese. We've fooled around with this some. Obviously, when we were in France learning about this, they're connoisseurs of good food and good cheese, and they would just buy the amount of cheese they're going to use in a short period of time, and to keep it fresh and coming right out of the case, that's what it's best. But like we have a son that lives in Kentucky and he has a large family, so when we send him cheese, we send him a fair amount. He freezes it, and what happens is it will change the consistency of it a little bit. It'll dry it out, but the flavors will be there, and it'll be more crumbly. It won't flow as nice when you cut it with a knife, but the flavors will be there. And if you're melding it on different foods, you're not going to notice any difference. So if you're in that situation, it's not a problem. Good question. We just started doing festivals around the DC area, Timonium and Gaithersburg, and Chantilly, and so we have got into that market a little bit only through the festivals. Obviously, you can go to easthillcreamery.com and order online, and we ship Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We put wrap it up in insulation bubble wrap and ice packs and gets it to you in good shape. And if you go to online and look up Sugarloaf, when all this pandemonium gets behind us, we'll be on the Sugarloaf Festival circuit. And we'll be down in that area about 6 different times throughout the year, and we'll be at that show. We do very well at it, and they're a good venue to be at, and you can get it there. Also, we would like to find some distribution down there. If you have any suggestions, I would just maybe shoot that to us and we could look into it. Obviously, when a distributor takes a product like that on, they certainly want a line of customers before they do that, and that would all help with that process. That's a good question. It's a question about dumping milk right now. I get that question 2 or 3 times a day. Our dairy has not had to dump any milk. There's a couple things going on there. Last fall, the dairies were put on a quota, kind of voluntary quota system. So when we what's happening is we're coming into the spring flush, and regardless if your cows are on pasture or in a barn, cows have a tendency to make more milk this time of year other than any other time of the year. And it's an evolution thing because they've been doing that for thousands of years. So anyways, we had to tell the co-op that we were going to make a certain amount of milk in the spring, and it was based off what we made a year ago at the same time. And they allowed us to make 1.5% more volume over last year, and after that, then they would do a deduct on our milk check for putting that extra milk on the market. So we've had a pretty good production year. Feed was good, cows milk well, and I assume some of these dairies are over their quota, so rather than take a deduct on their milk check, they opted to dump milk. And also with this pandemonium that we're going through now, believe it or not, about 50% of the dairy products was going to service-oriented like restaurants and hospitals and food service type places. Can you believe 50% of the people now are eating out and not eating at home? So now we got reversed back to eating at home again, and all of the industrial, we're kind of industrial food culture now. And so there's fewer and fewer places that make products. And so they have specialty lines that make a certain product for a certain package. So when, let's say, rather than dumping out 1,000 50-pound packages of mozzarella ground for pizza, now we have to go back to maybe 1-pound packages of grated mozzarella for the home use. And manufacturers just don't have idle lines sitting in their factory to retool or reroute this line to smaller packages. They probably sold the equipment off long ago. It was probably obsolete, and they're optimizing their investment by putting in lines that make them money. So what's happened is it's one of those time things, and nobody who's manufacturing is going to spend thousands of dollars to put a new line in order to get that market share. So they're basically, like ourselves, are just going to wait it out, and hopefully we'll get back to some type of normalcy. And so this has happened not with just like mozzarella, but it's happened with bottling milk, going from like 5-gallon plastic bags for like schools and hospitals and restaurants. Now we want quart, containers and gallon containers, and we just don't have enough lines to supply the demand. And also the companies making the containers. They probably make so many containers every week, every day, every week, every month. And they're not set up to make, to do 5 times that many containers. So it all has kind of a trickling effect. And so that's kind of what happened. So on the flip side, I say more people are, interested in local markets because they can obtain the product. But you just can't turn a light switch on and turn it off for people who are supplying farmers markets, because we require a paycheck or income every day to support ourselves, to support our farms, to support families, and you just can't come and go on that and expect something to be in place like a farmers market with lots of farmers, lots of products. And so that's a problem. And so, and also farmers markets, when you see a farmer selling his own product, it's probably really the true cost of producing that product. When industrialization and efficiencies come into place, you're driving costs down. People are always looking for the cheapest possible price on most items. I deal with that all the time. And so this creates like a problem where there's no longer small manufacturers making products locally. They just can't make it cheap enough to compete with large scale, with processing and commercial industrialization of food, and that's kind of where we're at right now in our culture. And if you want to change that, go back to the farmers market and support us. I go to a farmer's market, I like to walk away with $400 or $500. I spend six to 8 hours prepping and standing at the market and going home and putting everything away and cleaning everything up. And we need that kind of money to pay for our product. Plus, we have to make a living too. We have doctor bills, dentist bills, taxes to pay, just like anybody. And so we need that income. So if you want to see it happen, support the farmers market as much as you can, and when the price seems a little bit high, now you kind of know why. So we'll get back with you with some more questions, answers. I want to thank everybody for those questions. Those are good questions. Now, kind of has society is kind of turned down as far as the pace of life. We have I can enjoy it myself, but not what's going on altogether. But we have time to think about some of these things that we don't usually take the time to think about and thought. So I'd like to thank people for those questions and would like to entertain more. If you have any out there, we'll do this again.